This Is Your Life. That viewing theatre you've just seen is my target for tonight. It's just down here in the corridors of these London offices of Thames Television. Inside, some producer colleagues and programme staff are watching video clips of an entertainer who has tickled the fancy from Coronation Street to Downing Street. And I can tell you that trying to make sure things go haywire inside has been a hair-raising experience. But if my timing is just not spot on now, we could miss the big moment.
Do you know something? If Angela Rippon never ran a boozer shop just like you.
I want you all to tighten your belts, pull up your socks, put your shoulder to the wheel, your nose to the grindstone, your best foot forward, and then you do the hokey-cokey and you turn around, and that's what it's all about.
Hello, Janet. No, don't do the hokey-cokey, but do turn around, because this is what it's all about. Yes, right behind you now. Yes, Janet, this viewing session has been specially arranged so that I could say to a very delightful lady with so many famous faces, tonight, Janet Brown, this is your life. You mean it very much.
Oh, Lord.
Well, the viewing session didn't finish exactly as you planned.
Dear, if you could hear my heartbeat. Oh, dear.
What did you think when you saw my beautiful wig?
Oh, Eamon, I tell you, when I was sitting there and I saw the Margaret Thatcher come up and Hilda Ogden, and then I saw that wig and I thought, I don't remember doing this one. I wonder which character this is. And when you turned round, I thought, well, you must be just part of something I'm supposed to do and don't know about.
Well, this you do know about now, because Janet Brown, this is your life, a life of show business that began in childhood, but which you put aside for many years to concentrate on being a caring wife and mother. Now, sadly, your husband, the much-loved comedy actor Peter Butterworth, died suddenly nearly 2 years ago, and you made the courageous decision to continue your work to help you through that unhappy time. And nobody gave you more comfort and encouragement than two people who are, of course, here tonight, your son Tyler and your daughter Emma.
Oh, my goodness me. Oh, you're wicked, wicked. What did you both set up to?
Well, Tyler and Emma, it must be a hilarious home life having a mother who can change from being one woman to another.
Yes, Eamon, sometimes it's very confusing because she doesn't only impersonate celebrities, she sometimes impersonates friends and neighbours as well, but it's more than my life's worth, I think, to tell you who.
It is very confusing when Mummy's out and the phone goes because we don't know who we're talking to. It could be a friend's mother, or our mother. It's very bad.
Well, Janet, today you have your own television show, Janet & Co., but you first became famous to millions of viewers for your impersonations on programs like Who Do You Do and Now Who Do You Do, and sharing your success in those top-rating shows were a host of laughter makers, including your good pals, Peter Goodright.
Oh, Peter. Oh, what a lovely darling. And
Roger Kitter.
And Roger.
Johnny Moore.
And Johnny. Oh.
Great legs.
Barry Cryer.
I can't believe
Jerry Stevens. And taking a rehearsal break from their BBC series, Little and Large. Well, Eddie Large, I know you're all great admirers of Janet's work.
Yeah, there's only one word to describe her, Eamon, and that's brill. Isn't that right, Siddy?
Yes.
Stop ad-libbing. It's Janet's life we want to hear about.
Oh, it's so thrilled. Look at all the it's all my mates. Oh, that's great.
Well, Janet, your life began here in the third-floor flat at 26 Hamilton Road, Rutherglen, Glasgow. And here you are, aged 6 months, with your late parents, Mother Helen and your father Andrew, who worked at the Glasgow shipyards. And there's someone else on that picture.
Yes, it's me, John. And I remember the racket you made as a little girl. Nearly drove me out of the house.
And today he lives in Norwich,
Yes,
your brother Bill.
Yes, and he still says things like that. Oh, how people keep secrets. Oh, Bill. Isn't this smashing?
So, Bill, your little sister tended to make a lot of noise about the house, did
Yes,
she?
she did. You know, on a Saturday afternoons, we used to go to the pictures and watch the musicals. And we'd come back home, I'd go through to the front room, and I'd pick up my mandolin and try to pick up the tunes. Jan would come through, sit down at the piano. This is me doing Shirley Temple. This is me doing Zazu Pitts. And so on and so on. And really, she just about drove me up the wall. But there was one particular impression, and that really drove me crazy. It was a particular favourite of hers, and that was Jessie Matthews. And she used to sit there time after time. Over my shoulder goes what? But Jan,
I can.
you know,
I was going to say I can still put my nose out and put the teeth out and say, "Oh, my
Thank you, Bill Brown. Janet, here's another family picture. Now, there's Bill himself, and on the right, another addition to the family. That's your sister, Chris. Of course, she went to live in Canada 26 years ago.
This is no impersonation, Janet. It's your kid sister in person.
Yes, we've flown at 3,500 miles from Toronto. Your sister, Chris.
She got the top. What's going on?
Now, Chris, you were in the audience for one of Janet's first ever stage performances.
Yes, I was. I think it's the first time that Janet was stuck for words. She was singing a song, a little Sunday school soiree, and she forgot the words. And she walked over while the woman was still playing, and she tapped on the shoulder, and she said, "I think I'll start again." So she did. And there was a man sitting next to my mother and father, and this man turned round to Dad, and he said, "There's one thing about that wee lassie. She'll never go on the stage."
Thank you, Chris Mill.
He was right.
Well, Janet, from those childhood attempts at impersonating the stars, you have become friends with many of the stars. And one of them remembers the first time you came to tea.
And while you were watching me handing round the scones, I'd got no idea you were secretly planning your impersonation of me.
Yes, from That's Life, Esther Ranson and her husband, television presenter and producer Desmond Wilcox.
How can people keep secrets like this and sticking? Oh, Esther. Oh.
Esther, let's have a look now at how Janet sees you in your most famous role as presenter of That's Life.
We had just received a card from a Mr. Herbert Grudge of Catford, who 5 years ago won an all-expenses-paid trip to Kuala Lumpur. And is still there trying to win a trip back. So with holidays in mind, I went out with our film unit just to see where you go to when you want to get away from it all. Excuse me, madam. Good Lord. I never told you, you look just like me.
There is something about you now you come to mention it. Is it the hair, do you think?
The hair? What's happened to my hair? Is there something wrong with my
No,
hair?
it's absolutely wonderful hair. The eyes, that's what it is.
I wonder if it's the eyes. It really is quite extraordinary of yours. I've never seen anything like it. You really are amazing.
Mind you, you have very peculiar teeth.
My teeth.
Well, Esther, looking at that now, and of course the first time, you obviously enjoyed appearing on Janet's show.
Yes, there was one slight technical problem, though. Because when I arrived on location, I discovered that Janet looked infinitely more like me than I did. So I had to rush away and borrow your back and do things to my hair to make myself look like her looking like me, if you see what I mean.
She's also cross with me at the moment because I like Esther's hair a bit shorter than it actually is, and I've persuaded, or has been, and I've persuaded her to have it cut. And Janet tells me that that's going to cost Thames Television a fortune in altering all the wigs that she's already had made.
Oh, fair enough. Thank you, Desmond Wilcox and Esther Ranson. Well, Janet, there's one famous lady you impersonate whom you've never met, but I know she'd like to give you some advice about what I can only describe as one of her pet sayings.
I think you've taken me off marvellously, Janet, but you really must spit out the word more. Sit.
Sounds as though she's got a bone to pick with you, Janet. Delight of dog lovers and millions besides. Barbara Woodhouse. Well, they are actually now meeting for the very first time. So right away, let's see Janet Brown.
Welcome everyone to another... Do try and keep your dog still, Mrs. Dalrymple. To another program on training your dog the Woodhouse way. Stop fidgeting, Mrs. Mason. Remember the last time I taught you the very important command, sit. Remembering to emphasize the sit and not forgetting the regulation arm maneuver, thus. Now, shall we all try that together then? Are we ready? And sit. Yes, well, not too bad, Mrs. Mason. Well, that's frightfully good, Dr. Fairbright. That's very well done indeed. Good boy. The only thing is, Doctor, on the command, the arm should be stiff and firm, you see, but let the hand relax. Well, that's here, on your hip. Here, where's your hip? Well, I know where mine is. That's it, much better. Now, you see, let the arm go. That's it. Oh, absolutely splendid. I think that's
That sounded great to me. What did you think of Janet's performance now when you first saw it?
Well, of course, I think it's absolutely gorgeous, really terrific, but of course she's made two very fatal mistakes. You see, no dog would sit. No dog would sit if you did that, only an elephant. This is the sit signal in two. Sit. And then, of course, she hasn't...
Can I try that?
Well, you can, yes. Should be sit. Not no. Sit.
Oh, I've been doing it wrong all this.
And the other thing, of course, is you must have a dog skirt. You've unfortunately chosen pale blue, and which, of course, would be the target for tonight. Every dog would come and bark and bite you straight away because he could see where you are.
Really?
You see, I have a navy blue one, a very old one, and it's 21 years old, you see. And no dog can see where I am, you see, so I'm fairly safe. Otherwise, of course, I had intended handing over to you, but...
Thank you, Barbara Woodhouse. Well, quite apart from that skirt, Janet, clothes are important in your first job because at the age of 14, after attending first a Gallowflat School, Rutherglen, then going on to Rutherglen Academy, you go to work in the clothing department here at the local cooperative society.
Remember, Janet, you'd pull the hat from the shelf, plonk it on your head and say, "Guess who I am now?"
She worked beside you at Rutherglen Co-op. You haven't seen her since those days. Margaret Shields.
Oh, goodness me. And why haven't I seen you before, Janet? What a lovely to see you.
So, Margaret, Janet had a ready-made wardrobe of clothes from the start.
And did she have, yes. You remember, Janet used to take hats and scarves from the drawer and put them on and mimic to the customers and the staff, and we had such a laugh. We really enjoyed it so much.
Thank you, yes. Margaret Shields.
Thank you so much.
Well, while working at the co-op, Janet, you start entering and winning local talent contests. You have an audition with BBC Radio Glasgow and get a regular spot on a local radio program called Glasgow's Own. But now it's wartime and you volunteer for the ATS, where you learn of an army entertainment unit, stars in battle dress, and persuade the authorities to let you join. And soon after D-Day, you're close behind the battle lines of Normandy, entertaining the troops to the accompaniment of gunfire and music like this. He was your accompanist back in those wartime days, composer and pianist Alan Clare. Alan, tell us, what do you remember about those battlefield concerts?
There was a time in Holland, it was freezing, absolutely freezing. And we had to give the show in the open, in the fields, you know. And Janet was absolutely blue with cold. I remember her hands used to go blue with cold, remember? And she had to put all these flimsy dresses on. And how she managed to do that, I don't know, but Well, the troops loved her for it, you know, and she's a trooper. That's the word.
Thank you, Alan Clare. Apart from the outfits, Janet, how did you manage to keep up with the hairstyle of the stars in those conditions?
Well, the thing was, I had to get hold of a biscuit tin. I remember that. And washing my hair in the biscuit tin and trying to get myself together because of having to go out and work on the tabletops and the grass out there to the boys. Yeah.
Well, you got right through it, and the war over, it's back home to Scotland, and soon the lights of London's West End are shining for you as principal girl in Little Red Riding Hood at the Adelphi Theatre. The principal boy in that pantomime 33 years ago wanted to be here tonight, Janet, but unfortunately she's rather busy running a motel up in Birmingham. But if you look at that screen, she's going to talk to you now, live, I hope, from the Crossroads Motel, Noel Gordon.
Hello, Eamon, and hello, Janet. It's lovely to talk to you.
Noel, that winter of 1947, when you two appeared in pantomime together, was one of the coldest on record.
It certainly was. Do you remember that, Janet? Alan Clare said how cold it was in Holland during the war. Well, I know this must be a very heartwarming night for you, but I can't help remembering how cold it was in the winter of 46, 47 when we were in that pantomime together in the West End. Do you remember the Flying Ballet? Poor little things, they were so cold, they were wearing woolly drawers. Yes. Can you imagine all those pretty girls flying about actually wearing woolly drawers? And they were so full of cold as they swung across the Adelphi stage, they were blowing their noses. Janet, dear, I'm sorry I can't be with you, but have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thank you, Noel Gordon. Thank you, Noel.
Kind of. Oh, dear, dear.
Well, after that first West End appearance, Janet, there followed many very busy years, touring, television, films, stage plays, often with Peter, and reviews again, often with Peter, as here, the show 8:05 of 1959.
Yes, that was great.
And there was someone else you met for the first time in that show, who's to become a star of West End musicals and has remained a very special friend of yours ever since. Tyler and Emma always call her Aunt Jean. And of course, she's here tonight, original star of the London production of Sound of Music, Jean Bayliss.
My mate!
Now, don't start crying.
Jean, there's another side to Janet few people know about.
Yes, Eamon, there is. She's always ready to give her help to charity. Last year, I had to heard that a television personality who was going to be the main attraction of an event, a fundraising event in a small town of Wallingford in Oxfordshire, had to back out at the last minute. So I said, I think I'll give a word to Janet and sort of see if she can help us out. So she said, without any hesitation, she said, I'll do it right away. And she did her wonderful impersonation of Mrs. Thatcher, and of course it was below zero, if you remember.
It was very cold.
Yes. Jan, you seem to spend a lot of your time spreading warmth in cold places.
Thank you, Jean Bayliss. Janet, you stayed on the sidelines of show business for more than a decade when your children were growing up.
Yes, listen to that, will you?
And when you returned, television claimed you, and almost immediately you became a star of Who Do You Do? And then just a year ago, the accolade of the Royal Variety Show, and a much acclaimed impersonation of one of the American stars appearing on it. And if you look at that screen, Janet, she's taken time off from her television and recording work to greet you now by satellite from New York, the original Hello, Dolly, Carol Channing.
Hello, Eamon. Well, hello, Janet. Wasn't that a terrific night at the Royal Variety Show? You were just sensational, Janet. And didn't the audience love you for it? You know, Janet, now that you're at the top in Great Britain, I'd love for you to come over here to America. Not only because I know that you would wow the audience over here, but also because it would be lovely to be able to see you from time to time and see how well I'm looking.
Yes.
But Janet, all my life, I've said that diamonds are a girl's best friend. But having met and worked with you, you can forget diamonds. I think you're the greatest. Janet, Tonight, you are our diamond, and we are all your best friends. God bless and have a wonderful evening.
Oh, isn't that
Thank you,
super?
Carol Channing.
Oh, yeah.
And let's take another look at that show-stopping impersonation of Carol on that Royal Variety Show.
Why, hello again. You know, I just had to come back on and tell you that it really is a joy. And an honor to be appearing in this lovely, lovely theater on this auspicious occasion.
Janet, one of your most celebrated impersonations is, of course, of Britain's first woman Prime Minister. And although she cannot be here tonight, I can tell you nobody enjoys more than Mrs. Thatcher herself.
Good evening. And may I say that it is indeed a great honor and a privilege for you all. In fact, I only wish I was sitting out there, then I could enjoy me as much as you're going to.
Well, now, the reason, Janet, I know that Mrs. Thatcher enjoys your performance is because of this letter from 10 Downing Street to you. I am delighted to send my good wishes to you today when your popularity and professionalism are recognized by This Is Your Life. After many years as a versatile performer, your unique talent has brought you a well-deserved success. I compliment you on the accuracy of your impersonations, including those you do of me. I can only imagine how many hours of hard work go into perfecting each little detail. Your achievements and your popularity reflect two very important British characteristics, a sense of humor and the freedom in which to enjoy it. My congratulations and best wishes for your continued success, Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, how lovely. Isn't that
Janet, before we close, I want to take you, as it were, from 10 Downing Street back to your home city of Glasgow. When you married your late husband, Peter Butterworth, whom you'd met when you worked together in a summer show at Scarborough, you took him to meet your old friends in Scotland. Now, it meant so much to them that today, 30 years later, someone remembers it as if it were yesterday.
How could I forget, Janet? I never seen two people so much in love.
You were neighbours in Rutherglen all those years ago, Ellen Rutherford.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Ellen, I believe that you can claim a small part in Janet's success.
Yes, I think so, and I think so. When she was a teenager and she went out to the talent contest, I went there. She was obviously, "You'll turn up, Ellen," and I did all the clapping and shouting for more and more, you know.
Thank you, Ellen Rutherford. Well, Janet, one of those impersonations that Ellen clapped and clapped was surely your personal favorite, an international singing star who today is still one of the most loved names in entertainment.
Over my shoulder goes one care, over my shoulder goes two cares. Why should I cry? It's blue above. I'm free at last and I'm in love.
Believe it or not, you've never met until this very moment the star who inspired you when you took your own first steps to stardom, Jessie Matthews.
Janet Brown, may I please say thank you for letting me be part of your wonderful evening. I have seen so many of your wonderful impersonations of artists and personalities, but what has amazed me most of all, and I think it will have amazed everybody who have seen you, your wonderful nature shines through them all.
Oh, I love it.
Janet Brown, This Is Your Life.
And Janet Brown will be appearing in Janet and Company on Christmas Day.